Hi, my name is Zane Wilson, and I chose to do my literature review on men in nursing. Why I chose the topic, I am currently a nursing student at Nebraska Methodist College, which I'm sure a majority of you guys are too, except maybe a few of you guys in another program. Um, I've worked as a CNA for the last about year and a half. I first started at Maple Crest. It was more of a nursing home, and then about 6 months later, I transferred to a general medical surgical floor at UNMC. And then about 6 months later, I transferred to the Buffett Cancer Center to another medical surgical floor, but it also dealt with oncology. So, from a male perspective, I can definitely relate to this topic. Um, what I wanted to learn going into this, I really wanted to understand what is making men avoid the nursing field. It's 2017. There's plenty of women and men that are switching roles nowadays, but it still seems that with nursing, there's just not as much of a switch. Still a very female-dominated position in the workplace. So, I also want to know, is there any way that we can recruit more men into the field? And if so, how? How are men treated in the nursing field? Do male nurses enjoy their careers? If not, is there anything that bothers them about being a male nurse? And otherwise, what do they enjoy being about a nurse? And why did they become a nurse in the first place? What I learned, um, what I learned, unfortunately, is more that the amount of men joining the nursing field is slowly rising. I mean, it is rising, so it's a good thing, but not rising at the rate that mm, we'll see much change in the upcoming years. It's still the stigma that nursing is a female job. It's stuck in people's heads, and it's just not gonna change people's minds anytime soon. Um, you know, there's lots of stereotypes and stigma around male nurses, unfortunately. What we see is, if someone, if you know a man that's going to be a nurse, most of the time, they stereotype that he's a homosexual or that he's feminine, or there's just lots and lots of stereotypes that go into it. Maybe he's a low achiever. I couldn't tell you how many times I've been in the nursing setting and they go, "Oh, are you studying to be a PA, studying to be a doctor?" And then you tell them that you're actually studying to be a nurse, and they seem just appalled that they want to know why you're stepping so low and why you don't want to achieve your fullest. Well, that's just wrong in the first place, because to say that being a nurse is a low achiever, that's already wrong, because it takes actually a lot of hard work and dedication to be a nurse. So it shouldn't be looked at as a bad thing that a man wants to be a nurse. And then also it's very stereotyped that men just can't, they're incapable of sharing the same kind of empathy and sympathy as a woman, so that they just aren't capable of being a nurse, because these patients, they need that empathy and that sympathy from the nurses. And you know, I work in the hospital, and I am well aware of these stereotypes, and I wish they weren't so prominent, but they really are. I have been told many times. I mean, I know I'm just a CNA as of right now, but there's many times that I'm told, you know, I need to switch a patient because they just don't feel comfortable with a man being in the room, or they just feel more comfortable with a female, and that kind of, I don't know. It's just they think that women can just deal with it better. Unfortunately, I mean, it's not every patient, but I'd say about 1 in every 10 patients I deal with is like this. So it's very hard to go into a field knowing that you're just not as respected as the people around you, since the majority of them will be women. And just like not a whole lot has been done to change this, unfortunately. So Yeah, it's just going to take time for something like this to change because in so many years it's always been thought of as a female position. So it's not going to change overnight. It's something that we have to learn. How are we going to recruit more men into the field? How are we going to benefit from that? And um, in my interview, I actually interviewed one of the managers at UNMC on the CPCU floor. And what I'm finding is that most hospitals actually want to hire more men. They actually benefit from it, from having another viewpoint, from, they have, it's been shown, it kind of levels out everything. There's tons of women on the floor, and to have a man to kind of level out the playing field, so I was surprised by my interview that they were so receptive to having men in the field, and they actually prefer hiring men. So it was just a little bit of a shock giving my interview, finding that out, because my research has kind of been saying the opposite. So overall, I just hope that we can hire more male nurses in the future. The unfortunate thing about my research was that it was a very hard paper to write because I just could not find that much information about men in nursing, or like why they become nurses. Um, but I did find statistically most men who did go into nursing, they stated that they went in nursing because they wanted to care for people, they wanted to make a change in society that would benefit everyone. So I mean, they all go into it for the right reasons, and a lot of people are scared because when you're dealing with intimate touch and all of that, you could be sued by a female client because they think men can only touch sexually and none of them are intimate. And that's just a totally wrong feeling. And that's why when we're at work, we have to choose to have a female come in with us if we're going to do something intimate. So men are going into it for the right reasons, and we need to know this as a society, that men are just as capable as women as being a nurse. So if we can find out ways to do that, that would really benefit us as a society, because there's nursing shortages for years and years, and it's not going to change anytime soon because sick people are always going to exist. So we really need to be able to get men into this field. And like I was saying, that's the research I got, just it wasn't very conclusive about how we can change it or what we can do to change it. So hopefully we can find more ways to recruit more men. We just have to really figure out how. And yeah, that's my speech.